Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a video talking all about the books that I read in May. I really want to make this video a little bit more often. I think last month I somehow managed to read 8 or 9 books, which is awesome for me. It is a lot for me. I usually read about 50 or 60 books a year, so 8 a month is pretty good. So I have my Goodreads account to go into the order of the books. I only have one physical copy of a book. All the rest I read on my Kindle, on my phone. So the first book that I finished was The F Word, A Personal Exploration of Modern Female Friendship, and that's a book by the YouTuber Lily Pebbles. Now, I used to read Lily Pebbles' blog and watch her video back in the days, and I really enjoyed it, and her friends were always in her vlog and she was always talking about them. So when I saw that she had a book about friendship, female friendship, I was interested, but I wanted to wait until it was a little bit cheaper, and I managed to get it for £3 on my Kindle just before we left for Japan, which means that when we came back, I started reading it. I think it was a long weekend on the 1st of May, and I read it within 3 days. The sad thing is that I only gave it 2 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. To me, it read more like a super long blog post. Everything was pretty obvious to me. There weren't a lot of tips or a lot of ideas, and it just wasn't interesting enough for me. So I give it 2 stars. The cover is beautiful though, but the rest of the book, I think it's a little bit caricatural at times, and it wasn't really funny. It wasn't really clever. It wasn't filled with tips, so I really didn't see the point of the book. To me, again, it read like a very long blog post. The next book that I read, I love that one. It was Behind Her Eyes, which has been on my reading list for so long, by Sarah Pinborough. I always say Pinborough, it's Pinborough. I give it 5 stars. I loved that book. It was creepy to the end. The twist at the end, I absolutely didn't see coming. I was reading it, I think I read it, in like 4 days, which is very quick for me because I'm usually really busy during the day and a little bit too tired to read a lot at night. But that book kept me on the edge of my seat. I think when I was about 60% in, I thought I had it all figured out, and then the ending came and it was amazing. I was shocked, I was surprised, I was disgusted at the same time. I remember closing the book and being like, wow, that was right. I need a cup of coffee, a blanket, and I just need to chill for a few minutes. So I highly recommend it. The next book that I read, I got from NetGalley. It's the Keto for One cookbook by Carpenter. I give it 2 stars. I recently switched to a keto diet, which, if you don't know what it is, it's mainly when you eat fat, a little bit of protein and just a tiny bit of carbs. And the reason I switched to that kind of diet is because I have endometriosis, and I read a couple of articles about women that suffer from the same disease as me, and they told about their keto diet and how it helped ease the pain. And I've been doing the keto diet for about 3 weeks now, and I feel amazing. I only had 1 severe pain episode, otherwise I'm fine. I don't have anything on a daily basis, which is a lot for me because usually I'm in pain like a third of the day. So it really has changed my life. So when I saw this book on NetGalley, I requested it. There are a couple of good tips in it, really good tips. Like, for example, there's a tip about how to make the perfect fried egg, which sounds so obvious, but ever since I started doing that, it has changed my life. Before that, I was always flipping my egg, and I know it sounds stupid and very obvious, but there's a lot of good tips in this book. The only thing that really annoyed me is that a lot of the recipe call for processed food that you can only find in American supermarkets. And the thing is that I can't wrap my mind around the fact that you want to buy something processed and then make a recipe with it. It doesn't make sense in my head. I'm trying to eat as natural, as fresh and as whole foods as I can. So buying processed things, and there were a lot of like chocolate replacement and things that were sweetened with stevia or xylitol or things like that, I wasn't a massive fan of. And just because of that, because you have to buy specific ingredients that you only find in American supermarkets, there are a lot of recipes that I couldn't replicate. I tried, I think, 4 recipes out of the book that I liked, but again, I think there wasn't a lot of diversity in the recipes, and some of them were really obvious, like omelets and salads and things like that. So it was okay. I guess it's a little bit more interesting if you live in the States, but I gave it 2 stars. The next book that I read, I have a physical copy of. This is Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer and Niven. This has been on my want to read pile for about 3 or 4 years, I think. This is YA, and I don't like YA. I think most of it is filled with stereotypes, and you can see it coming a mile away, and it's not really my cup of tea. But back in the day, when I got back into reading, I just picked up books because I found the cover were pretty, basically it. So I ended up reading it just because it was on my shelf for so long. I gave it 2 stars. This is your typical YA book. It's about a girl who was the fattest teen in America and a boy that has some issue recognizing people's face, and they meet because she finally goes to her high school. She has been homeschooled up until then, and it's their story about becoming closer. And yeah, it was just filled with the YA things that I don't like cheesy love stories and high school drama, and I really didn't like it, so I give it 2 stars. Then I finally finished a book that I started in 2018. It took me a year to read this book, which is just so bad. It's House of Islam, The Hearts and Minds of a Billion Believers by Husain. This is basically a book about the story of Islam back in the day, how it got started, what became the religion that now a lot of people are into. It talks about Islam nowadays, how to deal with terror attacks and stuff like that. It is very interesting. I give it 4 stars. Don't be put up by the fact that it took me a year to read it. It's just because I forgot about this book. It was buried in my Kindle. I really like it. Sometimes it's a little bit heavy, it has a lot of information, and sometimes I feel like it goes a little bit too deep for just the average reader. Sometimes there's a lot of names, a lot of dates, a lot of places. It can get a little bit overwhelming, but really I loved it. I've learned so much about the religion, about the story of Islam, about the tradition, the culture. I learned a lot. I really enjoyed it, and I especially liked the part about the present. I thought that the author has a really clear vision of his religion. He's actually Muslim himself, and it was very interesting. Then I read another book from NetGalley. This is Healthy as the Habits You Need to Get Lean, Stay Healthy, and I don't have the full title. And genuinely kick-ass at life, and I gave it, I believe, 4 stars, 5 stars. I give it 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It's just a common sense book. It's filled with advice that is just common sense. It's not a miracle solution to lose weight. It doesn't put a specific diet up front. It just tells you obvious things that sometimes you need to learn and to hear again. That being said, it was filled with good tips. I actually wrote down I think it was the 7 habits of healthy people in my bullet journal, because I think it is really healthy and really interesting. These are really good tips that are easily implementing into your life. It talks about habits. It talks about even if, for example, you want to work out every day, if someday you don't want to work out, you can still do a little thing that is working towards your goal. So for example, you can do yoga, or you can just stretch for 5 minutes. And overall, I thought that this book was really good and filled with great pieces of advice that are not crazy, that are simple to do, and I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read is coming out this month is Sorry I'm Late, I Didn't Want to Come, One Introvert's Year of Saying Yes by Jessica Pan, and I give it 3 stars. Now, I think I am the key demographic for this book, because I'm an introvert myself. I hate talking to people. I'm really shy. I can't make a phone call even just to order pizza or book a table at a restaurant. So I think I have a lot in common with the author. We're clearly from the same generation, and we clearly have the same sense of humor, and we love the same things. Sometimes passages and sentences were really funny to me. That being said, I found that the pacing of this book was a little bit off. Sometimes an event that took place within 3 days would take a whole long chapter, and sometimes something that took weeks happened within 2 pages. So that was a little bit off for me. And overall, I thought it was good. There aren't many tips. There are a few that I tried into my life, but otherwise it was interesting, but I guess it wasn't the right book for me. And the last book that I read, I actually forgot to give it 4 stars on Goodreads, but I definitely did. It's The Guilty Friend, which is also a new release by Joanne Sefton. And I really like this book because it's the story of 3 friends, 3 girls that were friends. They met at uni in Cambridge, I believe, and they became close friends. And basically you're jumping from the past to the present. So one of them ended up dead during their university years, and you jump from their perspective back in the 80s to nowadays, the 2 surviving friends, and they're trying to... Basically what happens is that there's a terror attack in London, and they both watch TV and they see their friend like 30 years older on TV, and they're both really shook because they are convinced that it's their friends that died, oh my god, my English, that died 20 years, 30 years ago. So the whole story is just trying to come up with what happened, how they can see someone on TV that looks just like her, and it's basically really interesting because you see how their friendship was back in the day, and they get together again in the present time, and they all deal with different aspects. It talks a lot about anorexia, and I thought it was done in a really good way. It didn't go into the stereotypes of anorexia. I thought it was really cleverly done. It was really interesting. It wasn't exactly what I expected, but I was pleasantly surprised. I loved the twist, I loved the ending, I just loved everything about this book. So thank you so much for watching. If you managed to keep up until the end, thank you, because I know that my English is a little bit over the place because I haven't practiced in quite a while. So nonetheless, I hope that you enjoyed this video. So if you want more information about the books, if you want links, if you want release dates, I will have a full post on my blog with all the details. And don't forget to share in the comments down below what you're currently reading, if you're reading something that you really enjoy or that you don't enjoy at all. I'm really curious to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!